This build is the face of the EU meta. Almost every comp player has made one. Lightning x Warden, and this is my take on it. Guys, all I'm saying is I had to back out the Malevolent Kitchen for this one. And as a result, I'm quick dropping comp builds with damn near 600 HP. So let's get into what makes this build absolutely insane. A majority of the build's high damage comes from Heretic Suture combined with Ether Conduit and Perfect Flash, making the build do a stupid amount of mantra damage. I mean, the only other gimmick of the build would be Foolish Outburst, where if you block a parry event, you gain the tempo. And this has some pretty nice synergies that I'll talk about later on in the video. And for the people that are saying, oh Kaido, I never predict vents, I never block parry dodge vents, just get good, bro. The Warden Ceremonial. I know, I made a video absolutely glazing the champion sword, but guess what? I lied. Because the Warden Ceremonial is just the best medium weapon in Deepwoken, and there's a reason more than half of Deepwoken comp are using the Warden. I say half, because the other half is either using Chris Cleave Nemesis or Kasana. But those are videos for another day. For now, you want to use the Warden Ceremonial. The enchants are mostly preference. I like Prof Thorns, but you can use something different. I mean, the only other enchants I'd recommend is Nemesis or Young Shao, but for the most part, the main reason people run Wardens is because of that nice swing speed of 0.8. But that's about it for the Wardens. Let's move on to the mantras.
The amplified and the reversal. And create imaginary mass. Imaginary technique. Hollow purple.
For the mantras, I'm running, in my opinion, the best mantra list. For my guard break, I'm running Thunder Kick, and if you don't think this is the most satisfying sound in the game, you're just lying. Also, I run Insignia Gem on this. Next up, we have Radiant Kick, and don't get me wrong, this is a good mantra, but like, hashtag revert Radiant Kick, because this shit feels like you're slapping wet concrete when you land it. It's so unsatisfying and kind of buggy, but it's still a good mantra, so I definitely pick it up. Next up, we have Jolt Grab, and you want to max this out with 3 Perfect Lens and 3 Crystal Lens. Slap a blue gem on and snipe people across the map. Definitely one of my favorite mantras from Lightning's kit. Next up is Master's Flourish, and I swear down it's finna make me Iron Blunderbuss when I use it with a certain tech. I'll talk about that later on in the video, but for now you want to pick up Master's Flourish. It's really good, plus we get level 4 on this build. You want to run 3 Magnifying Stones with a blue gem. Next up is Exhaustion Strike. This mantra held a couple of nerfs, but it's still really solid. You want to pick it up and run a Blessed Gem on this. Coming up to the last 2 mantras, I run Rising Thunder. It's a really good roll catch that does a lot of damage. It's all around really strong. You can run either a Bloodlust or Blessed Gem on this. And the last combat mantra is Grand Javelin, which is another really solid mantra from Lightning's kit. It's nice to feign and has a really goofy hitbox, making it easier to land. For my support mobility, I run Gaze and Lightning Cloak. Every single time the lights can stare procs, I get a speed boost from the Wind Gem, allowing my mobility throughout the fight to be consistently good. And I'm sure all of you already know how stupidly good Lightning Cloak is. Empowered dashes, quick mobility, stupid swing speed, all around it's just a very solid mobility mantra. In fact, Lightning Cloak is so good that when you pop it, your aura becomes so intense that it makes your opponent do a complete 180 and run around for 30 seconds in a chime mat. That's about it when it comes to the mantras. Now let's move on to my favorite part of all these videos, and that's the techs and synergies. First up is something I genuinely don't stop yapping about, and that's rollcasting. I know, I keep talking about how it's the best tech ever, but genuinely guys, rollcasting is insanely powerful. But rollcasting is at its peak when you combine it with certain mantras, and that's combining it with one of the most consistent mantras throughout all of Deepwoken's existence, and that's Master's Flourish. Before we get into that, can we just take a second to appreciate Master's Flourish? This shit's been consistently an S tier mantra since basically the entirety of the game, and that's one of the main reasons I love it, because it's always been that good. I highly doubt it's ever gonna really get nerfed. Now back to what I was saying, when combining it with rollcasting, this shit becomes nearly unreactable. Even when you feint it while rollcasting, it still gives you a massive boost of momentum, allowing you to play off that momentum into more combos. Next up, we have something that's more in the gray area of the term synergy, and that's combining a macro with the Warden Ceremonial. I know, boo, we hate macros, but let's be real, if you want to be above 1200 elo, you kind of need to abuse a macro, especially if you're using a medium or light weapon. Plus, the whole of Deepwoken competitively uses one. And if we're looking at macros with our totally not a fucking idiot caps on, all a macro really does is remove that essence of delay from your swing speed, making your weapon actually swing at the swing speed listed on its tooltip. But where the synergy really shines is when you combine it with Lightning Cloak. M1 macro on the Wardens combined with Lightning Cloak makes your swing speed the same as a dagger. This shit becomes stupidly fast. And finally, the last synergy would be combining Foolish Outburst with Ferocity. Now, the way that Ferocity works is that the more tempo you have, the more resistance you have. So when you're absolutely overflowing with nothing but pure skill and you're blocking and parrying every single vent because you're just him, you're basically on max tempo the entire fight, making you have that extra bit of tankiness throughout the entire fight fight if you're able to consistently block or parry a vent. If this video is able to reach 1,200 likes, I'll drop a full video about predicting and reading vents. That's about it when it comes to the unique synergies with this build. Obviously, you can still use some of the more generic lightning combos with this build, such as Thunder Kick into Rising Thunder. But that's about it. Let's get straight into the summary and build stats. These are the final stats of the build. With kind of a mid kit, it's still able to push around 500 HP, but you can definitely get that much higher. The full build link for this build will be down in the description below. If you have any extra questions about the build, join GG/Kaido's Commandment and ping me in any one of the channels. I'm always happy to help. And with that said, Kaido out.